Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, we have been shortchanging ourselves and we are pretty much going to lose all of our money with the current LLCs that we have at this very moment in time. I'm telling you right now, if I didn't learn this information, honestly, I probably would have been lost everything. But let me explain why. In this video, I'm going to be explaining to you how to actually have and move and have the correct operating agreement, okay? And this is something that most people don't break down. There's no one, I think I've Googled and have researched, no one's really broken down the operating agreement or giving you the correct operating agreement. And let me explain why. So what happens here is, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, you need an operating agreement. Go to LegalZoom, create an entity, and get you an operating agreement along with it. And what they'll do is they'll give you like a 5-pager. But this is what it's supposed to be. What has to happen when it comes to an LLC is that you have to have asset protection, even if you don't have a trust. An LLC can still supply asset protection from the bylaws of the operating agreement. Any entity has bylaws, and the bylaws for an LLC is the operating agreement, okay? And so what you need to do is, when it comes to an LLC, you're supposed to have a minimum 20-page operating agreement that tells you and breaks down the bylaws to the T. Most people only get like 4 or 5 pages. Then when they go to a judge, they're pretty much ripped off because you're missing a lot of things in the operating agreement. So what happens is you only have 5 pages. So what happens is when you go to the judge, you're going to be defaulted by what the state gives you by what you're missing. So let's say you're missing the dissolution when it comes to the operating agreement. The state will give you the default of the dissolution, but it's not going to be catered to help you. It's going to be catered to help them. And that's not what you want when it comes to creating an operating agreement. You want it to be in your best interest, and you want it so it'll assist you in every single way possible, because these are your bylaws to your entity. So you want to make sure that you have these particular bylaws in place. So when it comes to a single member LLC or a single member in general, you want to have a minimum 20-page operating agreement. When it comes to any corporation, you want to have a minimum 150-page operating agreement. These are the bylaws that will literally keep you the most protected as an entity, okay? So I'm going to break down in this video on the actual operating agreement. I'm going to show you, I'm going to break it down so you can actually see what an operating agreement looks like. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so this is the operating agreement, y'all. So this operating agreement is, and let's go to the table of contents here, is literally 24 pages long, and this is just for a normal LLC, single member LLC entity, okay? So I'm telling y'all right now that those 5 pages that y'all got ain't working. It's not the move. So y'all want to make sure that when you're creating your LLC that you actually have as much asset protection as possible with your LLCs. And that's what most people do not have. It's actually quite sad, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. You want to make sure that you have the right operating agreement, the operating agreement that gives you the most asset protection. Even though it's limited and it's a liability entity, you still want to have asset protection because you don't want them to pierce the corporate veil and actually get through to you, okay? So let's actually get to number 1 real quick. Let's break it down from the top. Like I said, this is the operating agreement. Everything in yellow is actually what you would substitute your name and substitute whatever your company is for, and the date, and etc. So this is an example of the operating agreement that you need. It goes from the witness, the definitions. It breaks down, and this is important. Y'all got to know what some of these words mean. A lot of y'all actually have operating agreements and try to read it, but don't really know what the hell you're looking at, right? So, and this is the definition, so you can actually know what you're looking at. Then you want to, what's the name, purpose, what's the place, what's the duration of the actual LLC. That's super important. You want to make sure you have your registered agent here, right? Or your registered agent will be right here. Right, but it's the same address, but you want to make sure that you have the principal place, and you want to make sure you have the registered office. And like I mentioned before, the registered agent would be your business trust, or you can Google a registered agent in your state and actually have that be your registered agent, and you could pay $20 to $40 a year to actually get that done. Right. Of course, you have the rights and duties of the manager. Right. So you have manager member, and then you have, I feel like I just butchered that, if I'm being honest with you. Right. So you have the manager and then you have the member. Boom. Let's just keep that simple, right? You have the manager and then you have the member. So when you're doing the rights and duties of the managers, you want to make sure that you put the name, the address, and you want to make sure, you know, if you have more than one, you want to put the manager and you want to put yourself as the member if you are both, right? So if you are two separate people, then you would put two separate people down, right? If you're going to put a trust down, then you would put a trust down, right? So that's how that would work, right? And if I scroll down even more, let's go down to the rights and obligations, right? From there, you have names and addresses. The names and addresses of the original members are set forth in the operating agreement. The names, addresses, and percentage interest, that's what I wanted you to see. You have percentage interest that you also have to make sure that you keep an account for. So let's scroll down to that percentage interest real quick. You want to also have meetings with your members. So that's super important. But this is the contribution. They're talking about the capital contribution. So this is super important. Super important, y'all. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm actually going to add something here to make sure that that this is actually specified. Let me do this right now. We're going to add a column to the right. All right, we're going to say voters percentage. And what we're going to do, and you put is 50%. That's super important. So the reason why I put that here is for two reasons. One, because you actually got to know that this also talks about the level of control and owning nothing and controlling everything, especially if you're putting a trust in as the owner, right? But this is the main thing. Let's say you put the trust as one of the members and you put you as one of the members. What you would do is you would make your trust 98% and you'd make yourself 2%. But you'd give the trust 0% voters' rights and you'd give yourself 100% voters' rights. And now the reason why I did this, even though my trust has more interest into the company than I do, technically they own the company, as the individual can make the decisions for the company. And that's what most people don't take into account, or how they can actually control and own everything, is you pretty much will only have, you practically won't own anything, but then you also can't say anything. And so like, and your trust is an entity, so it can't really speak either, right? So how are we going to make decisions if no one can actually speak? So that's why I have it where I have 100% voters' rights, but they have 100% interest, or they have 98% interest rights. You can have it as 100% too. I like it where I still have some form of interest in the company. It's like shares in a sense. I still have shares within the company. So like I said, y'all, this is pretty much everything. I want y'all to read this agreement. If you want this actual agreement, you have to join our free workshop down below. This will actually break down everything on how to get this done. Just playing. I'm not going to lead you to some other webinar. I'm definitely not going to do that. So I'm going to lead you directly to this actual operating agreement so you can get it. All you got to do is click the link in the description. In exchange, I just require you to just put in your name, phone number, email. This will help out a lot in exchange for me just giving you this agreement so that I can hit you up later, right? But I will send you this exact agreement, no changes, nothing. You got it. Become successful with your business, protect your business, have asset protection, and I want to make sure that you all win. All you got to do is click the link in the description, click the link there, sign up, get the actual agreement, and you're good to go. So you'll see it in your email. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.